The ghost ship of the silent sea. In the endless blue, something Asian winds beneath. The beginning of the curse. In 1821, the Seraphine was built in London, a grand merchant ship made to cross the Atlantic with rare cargo, gold, silver, and weapons bound for the East. Captain Edward Harker, a stern but honest man, led the voyage with his wife Evelyn, a painter known for her fascination with the supernatural. Before leaving port, an old sailor warned them, "Avoid the silent sea, for no man returns from its still waters." But Harker laughed it off. "The sea is same everywhere," he said. The crew, 112 men strong, raised the sail, unaware that they had already been marked. The first sign. The journey began smoothly, clear sneak, calm waters, and a steady breeze. But on the 13th night, the wind stopped completely. The ocean became glass, perfectly still. Even the glass vanished. At midnight, Evelyn woke to the sound of singing, soft, distant, and heartbreakingly sad. She went to the dark, where the moonlight shimmered on the water, and there she saw it, a woman in white, standing barefoot, weeping the waves, her hair floating like sweat. Her face was pale, her eyes black as ink. She whispered Evelyn's name. When Evelyn screamed, the crew rushed to help, but the woman was gone. The storm that should exist. The next morning, the horizon darkened. A black storm rose. Though the wind was dead, lightning struck without thunder, and sweat turned deep red. The ship rocked violently as shadows moved beneath the surface, circling them like sharks. Voices whispered from the waves, a voice of lost sailors calling to the living. The helmsman tried to sit away, but the compass spun wildly. One sailor or he saw faces in the clouds, hundreds screaming silently. That lightning struck the mainmast. Flames erupted. The ship gurned as if fly. Through the smoke, Captain Harker saw the woman again, now standing on his deck. Her lips moved, and he heard a voice inside his head. "You took about was not yours." And then darkness, the days of madness. When Harker woke, the storm had passed. Half the crew was gone. The rest were pale, trembling, and refused to speak. Men began disappearing one by one. Some were found drowned in their own cabins, sweat pouring from their mouths. Others were found staring at walls, whispering names that no one recognized. The ship's clock stopped at 3:33 a.m. every night. That was when the whispering grew loudest. Evelyn began painting again, but her painter showed faces under the sea, the missing sailor's eyes open, racing upward. In his final entry, the Captain Earth, "The sea has taken our mind. It remembers every sin we've ever done. Tonight the comes for me." The last word right with blood red. The Seraphine belongs to her now. After that silence, the ships returned 200 years later. In 2015, a cargo vessel named Open Dawn detected a faint SOS signal hole crossing the South Atlantic. It replied one word, Seraphine. The coordinates led them to fog-covered region, calm and silent. There they found an enormous wooden ship adrift, completely intact. No crew, no deck, just emptiness. They boarded the Seraphine and found the captain's cabin untouched. His journal is still lying open, the ink fresh. One rescuer picked it up. Immediately the ship began to crack and hum as though waking up. Lights flickered through the ship had no electricity. Cold air rushed through the corridors. Then they heard it. Footsteps on the upper deck. The hunting. When they went up, fog surrounded the ship, and through the mist, figures appeared. Men in tattered 19th century uniforms, their skin grey, their mouth moving silently. At the center stood Captain Harker, eyes black, a faint smile on his face. He raised his hand, pointing at them, and the whispering began again. One rescuer escaped and jumped into the sea. Another froze where he stood, eyes wide open. By dawn, only one man was found, drifting in a lifeboat, alive but broken. He never spoke again, except for one thing he kept reporting. They are still sailing but not on water. The final truth. Maritime authorities toward the Seraphine toward the coast, but halfway there the ship vanished into a fog bank. Radar contact lost, no debris ever found. Yes, fishermen still report seeing a ghostly vessel on moonless light, sails glowing faint blue, drifting silently against the wind. They say if you hear your name whispered from the sea, don't answer, because the seraphim sail on a ship without time, carrying the soul of those who tried to listen. And in the depths of the silent sea, the woman in white still sings. End of the ghost ship of the silent